October 9th, 1888, Hank Patterson was born into this world. He was born Elmer Calvin Patterson, and that happened in Springville, Alabama. He was one of 7 children. Into the 1890s, the family had moved to Taylor, Texas, where he spent most of his boyhood, and he attended schools there through the 8th grade. His main passion was the piano. That's what he wanted to do for a living. He wanted to be a pianist. But having to pass on the serious side of the piano, instead he decided to become a vaudeville piano player. By the end of the 1920s, he had moved to California to become an actor. Now, Hank is one of a handful of character actors who kind of cornered the market on portraying cantankerous old coots in westerns. He worked heavily for Republic Pictures from 1946 to 1951. That was in a total of 17 different productions. Later, he transferred into the more juvenile TV westerns, from all sorts of ones like The Lone Ranger to Hopalong Cassidy, Gene Autry, Wild Bill Hickok, Roy Rogers, and the Cisco Kid. He's probably best remembered during this period as the old-timer host of the Bill Williams Kit Carson show from 1951 to 1955. He's shown with a bottle of Coca-Cola in his hand. When the more adult-oriented TV westerns came into popularity in the mid-50s, he was right in the middle of it, with Wyatt Earp, Texan, Trackdown, Bronco, Tombstone Territory, Maverick, Johnny Ringo, and dozens more. On the Western series Gunsmoke, he played the recurring role of the stableman Hank Miller. He was in a large number of episodes on this show. But you get to late in his career, and that's where he's probably remembered the most for his role as Fred Ziffel. He was a semi-regular on the show Petticoat Junction. Then in 1965, that role was expanded onto Green Acres, and even a few times on the Beverly Hillbillies. All these shows were kind of tied together. The association of Hank's character with the extremely popular Arnold the Pig ensured Patterson a place in TV history. You see, he had a pig named Arnold Ziffel. Arnold is a pig from the Chester White breed, but he's treated as the son of the farmer of Fred Ziffel and his wife Doris. They were a childless couple, but they treated Arnold just like a child. He had human-like abilities, and he lived the lifestyle of the normal people. He would be invited to town meetings. He would be invited to play checkers. Everyone in the town accepted him as a human, except for the new residents, Oliver Douglas and his wife. Mr. Douglas, being an attorney, tries to explain to the people that Arnold is just a pig, but nobody will listen to him. And the townspeople are actually kind of suspicious of him because of his inability to communicate with Arnold. See, everybody else in the town could do so. Arnold lives almost like a human. He watches the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite to keep up on current issues. He signs checks. He can adjust the TV antenna. And he carries his lunchbox when he goes to school in his mouth. Arnold's trainer was Frank N., who trained virtually all the animals seen in the rural television comedies of that time, including Petticoat Junction and the Beverly Hillbillies. Arnold was actually played by a piglet, and since piglets grow really fast to be adult pigs, one piglet was used per year and had to be trained each time during the 6 years the show was in production. In most of the episodes, Arnold was played by a female piglet, and he was paid $250 a day, and there was actually a union contract for his wages. Arnold received tons of fan mail from both children as well as adults. A 6th grade class from Ohio wrote a letter to pledge to stop eating pork chops on Arnold's behalf. Arnold is actually buried with Frank N. at Forest Lawn Memorial Park, When I say Arnold, I mean one of the Arnolds is actually buried there. Ironically, by the time that Hank Patterson played the role of Fred Ziffel on Green Acres, he was in his late 70s, and he was almost completely deaf. So they had to figure out a way to still use him in the show. The producers loved his portrayal, but he couldn't hear at all. This made it next to impossible when they were doing filming. They finally decided to have him learn his lines, and they had a dialogue coach lying on the floor during the shots, and they would be tapping Hank's leg with a yardstick when he needed to be cued for his next line. They went to extreme lengths to keep him involved in the show because of the popularity of his character and the Arnold character. Now, Hank made a lot of additional TV appearances that weren't related to the country atmosphere or the Western theme. He was in 3 episodes of The Twilight Zone, as well as Perry Mason. He was in Burke's Law, The Untouchables, My 3 Sons, and The Mod Squad. Believe it or not, he was in Love American Style too. Here's a point of trivia that I find kind of fascinating. Hank Patterson's great niece is the actress Tia Leone. Hank was married to Daisy Marguerite. She was a Kentucky native, 4 years younger than Hank was. August 23, 1975, Hank Patterson died at the age of 86 from bronchial pneumonia. He's buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills. Daisy, his wife, died also at age 86 in 1979. I recently looked back at some of the Green Acres episodes that involved his portrayal of Fred Ziffel and the portrayal of Arnold Ziffel. And that's truly funny stuff. It's well done. It just made the show that much more catchy. Thank you, Hank Patterson, for all the great roles that you portrayed. Rest in peace. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll continue to chase the classics.